Howdy, my name is Nolan T. Painter, and in today's video we will be discussing the topic of how to reflect as a man and become more wise. So in life, you have two opportunities to become more wise. You can become more wise through education, so this can be friends, lessons, parenting, schooling, or you can achieve wisdom through your own experiences. So let's look at education first. So being deemed wiser through education can be achieved through reflection of others. So that would be your parent disciplining you or telling you not to or to do certain things, right? Or your father sitting down and having a chat about some life expectations or goals that you should set for yourself. This can be anything, right? Like you should have this worldview, or believing this way will allow you to do this. Just the general sitting down and having a chat type of thing. Or you can be talking with a friend, and maybe a friend went through a really bad experience and they were giving you some input on how to avoid those things, right? Oh, you should study before you do a test because I tried to not study before doing a test and I failed, right? That your friend telling you that is in turn giving you wisdom, and you're reflecting on the wisdom that they're trying to lend to you, allowing you to become more wise in the process. And then the other option is to become wiser through your own experiences. So rather than, learning from others and their experiences, you learn from your own. And this is not something you can avoid. It's quite often people like to try and avoid these experiences because they're worried that they might get hurt or might fail, right? For myself, I always wanted to join the cadets and I always wanted to be interested in the Air Force. I joined and then immediately flunked out because I was too scared. But I still really wanted to participate, but it was too late. I flunked out. I was terrified. There was this huge thing I really wanted to do, and I failed myself. And that's, ever since then I promised myself I'll never fail again, and so far I've been doing good. But I wouldn't have learned that without the experience. It's too often people don't even do things in the first place, no matter failing it after trying it, because they're too scared of the failure, right? People need to not be afraid of failure anymore or give up so easily like I did so they can gain the wisdom. No matter, I gained wisdom from that experience regardless. And I learned that I should never let myself fail ever again. I shall never let myself give up on anything or anyone ever again in my entire life. I will never give up ever again, because I learned that lesson and it allowed me to reflect on it and build wisdom, right? But that was just a little example. Ultimately, you can build wisdom on anything as long as you're able to reflect. This is why, in a relationship perspective, when people break up or lose, a relationship status, it's often only after time that they realize they made a bunch of mistakes because they had time to reflect. You'll notice people who are really healthy in relationships can reflect very quickly, apologize quickly, and are really good at communicating and understanding each other. So then that way they don't have to fall apart, reflect, and then try to amend their issues. They can just reflect and solve the problem right away. Granted, relationships always aren't about solving problems, but it's always about reflecting. Because by reflecting on the relationship issues or the mistakes that you've made, you're allowed to grow and be more wise. That's why you can see people who say, oh, they would prefer someone who's dated a couple times because they are supposedly emotionally more intelligent, because they would have had experience, right? But the truth is, at the end of the day, it's always about having something to reflect on to then build more wisdom. By the way, this whole video is based on someone who left a comment on one of my initial videos. So if you're interested in a specific topic I should discuss, feel free to leave it in a comment below saying, hey man, you should talk about this, and I'd love to discuss it. But that's really it. There's not that much depth to it. I just wanted to address the comment in particular, right? Wisdom is always about either being educated and then reflecting on the education or the lessons people taught you and then turning it into wisdom, or having your own experiences and reflecting on it and building wisdom. Just keep in mind this always takes time. That's why people say, with wisdom comes age, or with age comes wisdom, right? Older people are always wise. Wise people in movies are always represented as being older, because to be wise means you need to spend time, right? Because it takes time to reflect. Kind of like with my example of breaking up and then realizing all the mistakes you've made. But yeah, I guess I could go into more detail on the whole reflection part. So here, I'll give you some details here. So when it comes to reflection, you need to have a specific event in mind, right? This means you need to be thinking of the event to reflect. So that means like not wasting your time on your phone, not listening to music, not doing something. You need a moment to yourself. And especially in today's society, these moments where you're completely isolated are very rare. That's why I'm so grateful to be out here, in this faraway school, because I get a lot of moments to myself to reflect. But typically, you don't get those moments to reflect. And it's only in those moments where you're alone and isolated in your own thoughts that you can choose specific, detailed moments in your life. Like, for example, a really embarrassing moment, or like a moment where you feel like you failed, or a moment you feel like you did something good. Super specific moments where then you can do what's called reflecting, which in my case is where I like to overanalyze the situation. Let's say I said something wrong to a girl, or I didn't phrase things something the way I'd like, right? It didn't represent who I was effectively. So I think about that. I replay that scenario 1,000 times in my head, and I think about different outcomes. What if I said this? What if I phrased it this way? What if I looked at them this way? What if I apologized? What if I, messaged them back and said, hey, this isn't what I meant. This is what I meant, right? And by going through all these different situations, I can learn and run scenarios in my head. What works best? What works worse? And naturally, that allows me to reflect more and become more empathetic to that person because I get a better understanding of who they are through the reflection. And by getting a better understanding of the situation, being the person, I can be more wise because now I'm more familiar. Because being wise is always about being familiar and having answers to difficult problems. But to have answers to difficult problems, you need to first experience the problem and then think and reflect on the problem itself, thus building wisdom. But yeah, that's it. It's a bit of a shorter video because there's not too much to explore in this one, and I got a pretty busy day today, so I just got to get this one out here rather than spending like a solid chunk of my time scripting it and writing it out, because I do put a lot of effort into these videos and I do really appreciate them. But if there's anything you felt that I missed out on, please just let me know, and I would love to touch on it another day. And if there's any topics you want me to address or talk to specifically, I would love to. I got a huge list of things I want to talk about because I've done a lot of thinking myself. But if there's anything you'd like me to say again, I'd love to talk about it. My name is Nolan T. Painter. Thank you very much for watching.